Hello everyone, in this episode we're going to take a look at the German Tier 8 heavy tank, the Tiger. With its powerful 88mm gun and the almost impenetrable frontal armour, it was one of the most feared weapons and was considered the most powerful tank to see action during the war. As early as 1941, Mr. Hitler demanded heavy panzers which had more penetration and heavier armour than ever before, demands which led to the creation of the Tiger. Being a narcissist of the highest order, this behemoth simply wasn't him. The chap wanted more, and he got it. Officially, the tank was the Panzerkampfwagen 6 SD KFZ 182, or Tiger. This actually translates as the Bengal Tiger, but was mistranslated as the Tiger or Royal Tiger. But for many, it simply became known as the Tiger II. Whilst this designation may imply it was a succession of the Tiger I, it is in effect a completely different and entirely new tank. The turret design was the responsibility of Krupp of Essen, whilst both Henschel and Porsche would offer competing chassis designs. Krupp had to create a turret around a formidable 71 caliber 88mm gun, far more powerful than the 56 calibers of the Tiger I. The gun was more than 20 feet long, with shells weighing in at almost 20 kilograms each. And even though this gun was perhaps the most powerful tank gun of the war, Krupp also proposed a 105mm gun. This is available in the game, but was never actually approved. Other suggested improvements included an automatic ammunition feed. Meanwhile, in the chassis department, many lessons were learned from the sloped armour design of the Russian T-34. Hitler's specifications called for 150mm of front armour and 80mm of side armour. Porsche submitted two designs of the VK4502, one with a turret in the centre and the second with a turret in the rear, but both of these used copper in an electric transmission that was in shortage at the time. Henschel's VK4503 sloped the frontal armour at 50 degrees, increasing its effectiveness greatly, whilst the side armour was angled at 25 degrees. Henschel's simpler and effective design was favoured, and 1,500 Tigers were ordered. However, production was severely hampered by Allied bombing raids. Attacks on the Henschel plant are said to have caused the production loss of some 657 Tiger tanks. In the end, only 492 units were actually produced. It also formed the basis for the Tiger variant, a subject for another showcase no doubt. The Tiger was placed into service in early 1944, serving on the Western and Eastern fronts, including during Operation Market Garden in Holland and the offensive in the Ardennes. This tank is Tiger No. 213, built in October of 1944 and commanded by Helmut Dollinger of the Kampfgruppe Piper during the Ardennes offensive. It can be found in Gleize, Belgium, where it and the group's advance was eventually halted on the 24th of December 1944. The story goes that this tank, another Tiger number 221, and a Panzer IV were at the Werimont farm, high ground on the outskirts of Gleize, when they made contact with US tanks of Task Force McGeorge and Task Force Lovelady of the 3rd Armoured Division on the 21st of December 1944. We can see the thick interlocked armour plates here that make up the angled rear and sides. The layout of these was very similar to those found on the Panther tank. In this video, we can also see the sheer size of the Tiger, the top of its hull being nearly 6 foot from the ground. Tigers were often reported as being encountered by American units in their after-action reports, but this was often as a result of misidentification, engendered by its largely mythical reputation. The truth was that most of the troops had never seen one before. Here at Gleize, however, they were faced with two. In the ensuing battle against the American forces, which included at least 15 US tanks, Tiger 213 eventually received a lucky hit which blew off the front third of the tank's gun, forcing the crew to abandon the vehicle. Tiger 213 still bears the marks in its armour from the range of enemy fire, including some, shall we call it rather, optimistic small arms. As we pass to the front of the tank, we can see the sheer thickness of the front plate. The great firepower and armour of the King Tiger allowed it to destroy enemy tanks at extreme ranges, and kept it almost impervious to opponents, even at close ranges. It was also said to be surprisingly agile for a tank of its size. It was ultimately more than a match for any allied tank, and as such became a terrifying and morale-denting foe, one that often relied on luck to defeat it, as happened here against Tank 213. The battle at Gleize must truly have seemed like a futile struggle. We can see the damage on the front plate of this Tiger from some larger caliber weapons, most likely US tank rounds. This one is as deep as my hand, and you can literally see the route that the round deflected. But that's not the most amazing thing. No, this shot down here hit right at where the armor junction is, and well, it's as big as my entire fist, and yet it still didn't penetrate. Now, in spite of the awesome armour, the King Tiger did suffer from mechanical breakdowns. At first, they were plagued with reliability issues, but this improved over time. However, its biggest Achilles heel was its enormous thirst for fuel. In fact, it is likely that most of them were not destroyed by advancing enemies at all, and instead abandoned by their crews, much like this one. Tiger 213 was bought from American salvage crews for the princely sum of a bottle of cognac. The gun was later restored using reclaimed parts from the region, and it still stands where it stopped, at Gleize, in front of the superb December 44 museum. The Tiger tank was generally more successful in deployments on the Eastern Front, where it was particularly suited to the more open battlefields, and where it was also operated by more experienced crews. The Schwer SS Panzer Abteilung 503rd operated in the Hungarian theatre for 166 days. Over this time they lost 25 Tiger IIs. Of these, 2 were sent back for a factory overhaul, 10 were knocked out by Soviet troops, whilst the remaining 13 were abandoned and destroyed by their crews to prevent them falling into enemy hands. However, over this period, the group's Tigers accounted for 121 Soviet tanks, 244 anti-tank guns and artillery, 5 aircraft, and a train. So, with all this in mind, let's see what Ho-Ho from W-UNI can do with his very own Tiger II tank here on the Overlord map. He is a top tier heavy and is taking up a strong position out wide, where he can react to enemies on the beach whilst concentrating fire onto enemy tanks moving along the narrow centre. Ho-Ho has got a mark of excellence on his Tiger II, and it's evident that he knows how to protect his weak spots. The terrain here, for example, helps to hide the main frontal weak spot, the lower glacis, whilst the angle he presents his tank at increases the effectiveness of the front plate, and protects the machine gun port weak spot. Some tanks are powerful enough to penetrate the flat plate either side of the gun, but to be honest, the juiciest shot is usually into the side of the turret. Ho-Ho here is keeping his distance and putting his gun to good use, whilst also making it difficult for enemies to pinpoint weak spots. This type of long engagement is historically where the tank excelled, so it's really no surprise that you can put those lessons into use in World of Tanks. Ho-Ho is displaying some really good map awareness here. He keeps his tank angled towards the immediate threats, whilst also keeping a good look around. In fact, pay particular attention throughout this replay at just how he sets up his tank for firing, aiming the gun across the front corner of the tank, and this means that his armour is always working to his maximum effectiveness by increasing its rounds. Now this pesky T-3485 is trying to make a move and get shots at the weaker sides, but Ho-Ho is wise. He knows what to do. He's turning to face, keeping an angle, takes one damaging shot, bounces a second, gets a good one in, and there he goes. Well, well that was easy, wasn't it? I suppose. The poor T-34. Okay, but you know, we can see the relative agility of the Tiger II, allowing Ho-Ho to react to the enemies using tank traverse as well as turret traverse. coupled with the great gun depression, it means that you can really get your gun pointing where it needs to be, and this helps you rack up the damage. You can see the W-UNI tracker at the top corner. In fact, keep an eye on that. He's telling us he's already acting like a green player, and we're not even into the real meat of the game. But he's not achieved this by being proactively aggressive, as you might need to be in an IS-3, for example. Instead, he's managed to keep his gun working at range. By keeping a good eye on the map and having an understanding of the flow of the battle, it allows Ho-Ho to be in the right place at the right time when he's needed, and that helps him get the damage. He knows that there are now enemy tanks moving up along the rear passages. That's don't take that the wrong way, but you know he's going to be facing that threat, so he's moving to a position where he's got a little bit of cover to protect from any shots from the center of the map. And there's the side of a Tiger, an excellent shot right into the rear of him. Fortunately, didn't quite hit the engine there. The Tiger has spotted him. He's going out of view before he gets another shot in. No, he gets him again. Well done. And he's realised as soon as those guys popped up on the minimap, he saw them. Now he's in a little bit of trouble because, again, he's not able to fully angle his armour against the two opponents. But pushes back the Tiger, and the IS-6 is on his way in. The IS-6 kind of needs to get close in order to get out those weak points. He's tried to get straight through the gun mantle, which has damaged the gun. But now, actually, the IS-6 is probably too close, because he's not going to be able to get the weak points. You can see him looking for a weak spot now, but he's not able to. But nevertheless, Ho-Ho is still trying to keep an angle. Oops. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, what are you doing? No. Well, he's still getting shots in, but no. And he's gone. Alright. His tracks are gone. They're in no real hurry to chase him down, though. So let's see. They're peeking over. No. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. No, Ho-Ho's backing off, and he's going to stay close to the cliff here. This helps him again protect against those guys poking over and getting a shot in, but also protect against that artillery. There is an artillery on the map, and he is now quite easily the biggest target for that artillery. IS-6 is making a move back, so Ho-Ho is setting up his next position. Again, pay attention how he's pay attention how he is maneuvering his tank. He gets an angle. He wants to make sure he's at an angle before the enemy fires. Get the return shot. He aimed for the side of the mantle, which is actually a weak spot there, but the shot deviated, and now he's maneuvering backwards, but again keeping an angle. Again to the side of the turret, mainly because he can't actually hit the hull from this point. The IS-6 is got much worse accuracy, so he's going to have to push on towards Ho-Ho. And there you go. You see that angled armor just causes another deflection, and Ho-Ho returns the favour with a damaging shot. The IS-6 really can't stay there. He has to move forward, and Ho-Ho's got some support to form with artillery. He shot at the weak point, being the driver's hatch. Here he comes. He's going to bounce again. Get the angle. He's aiming. But yes, that's an excellent shot to deal with the IS-6, which had tried to peek at the weak spots, but Ho-Ho done a very good job of concealing those. So well done there. And now he's going to push up back into the fight, because he can't really be very effective from down here. Oh, excellent shot! Look at that, on the SU-100 on the move before he could really take aim. And that's the great thing about the German guns, is they can zero in very nicely, very quickly, a lot faster than the Russian guns. So you can be more accurate. You can take snapshots like that, and you can pick out weak points when you're sniping as well. So the scores are now pretty even. Ho-Ho has been quite effective. He's racked up a good point of damage, and he's now on nearly 8,000 W-UNI, which is great. And he spotted the enemy artillery in a very strange position, but rather than going up and trying to deal with him, he's pulled back and he's going to let his teammates do the work. And that's excellent team play by both him and his team. So well done there. But the enemy Tiger 2, who, remember, he was fighting at the very beginning of the battle. In fact, I believe that Ho-Ho seems to perhaps be the only one that has done damage to him. He's just taken out the friendly artillery, so now it's just him and the Chiri against the Tiger 2 and a KV-85, who hasn't been seen since very early on. The Chiri is going to hopefully help out by spotting the Tiger 2. Ho-Ho is kind of trying to pre-aim to a position where he was last going to, but there he is. So the Chiri has helped him out, and the Tiger 2 is now zeroing down on Ho-Ho's teammate. So he's advancing. Fair amount of speed there, you know, it's not the fastest tank around, but he's making sure to use the crest of the hill for some additional cover, and it's a good job he did too. There he is, the Tiger. I don't think you're going to get a shot there, mate. Nope, just went wide. So the Chiri now, though, is manoeuvred around, doing what a medium tank's supposed to do, and getting at the weaker side armour whilst the heavy tanks face against each other. Can you get another shot in? The Tiger 2 is moving towards the Chiri, and he takes a bit of a hit there. Now that the Tiger 2 is kind of committed to that position, Ho-Ho is going to now move up and face it, and the Chiri is going to pull back, and that's excellent medium play by him and excellent heavy play by Ho-Ho. These two guys are working together quite well. There he is. He takes a shot in, but the weak side armour was presented quite clearly for him. And now it's really just a case of finding where that KV-85 is. Considering that he hasn't been spotted in a while, he may be AFK, maybe he's moved around. They have to be careful because he does have he has the potential to mount a pretty aggressive and pretty dangerous gun. So they're going to go hunting. But while they do, I mean, just take a look at the scores. Ho-Ho has racked up a very respectable, I'm not even going to call it very respectable, an excellent amount of damage, and his WNA is well over 10,000, and that's before you've even accounted for the win. So, he's performing as a pretty top grade player. I want to thank you guys again for tuning into this episode of Tank Showcase, and I hope that you've learnt a little bit more about the King Tiger tank. The Tier 8 German heavy tank has a poor reputation amongst World of Tank players. It's often considered one of the poorer Tier 8 vehicles, and when compared to tanks such as the IS-3, you can be forgiven for thinking that. But I also think it's important to recognise that the Tiger 2 is probably the earliest of all the Tier 8 tanks, and so the fact it is placed in the same category as its peers is testament to its capabilities. If you liked this showcase, please leave a like and a comment below, and let me know what you think of the Tiger 2. How you feel it compares to other Tier 8s in the game. Ho-Ho here has shown that if you know how to manage the weak spots and take advantage of the tank's strengths, you can be very successful with it. So, well done Ho-Ho. That was the King Tiger, and until next time, you've been oinked.